It is 4:51 a.m., May 1st, 2010. The fog is rolling in off the Great South Bay, blanketing the secluded gated community of Oak Beach, Long Island. In the absolute darkness, a young woman named Shannon Gilbert is running for her life. She is barefoot, she is disoriented, and she is terrified. She pounds on the door of a stranger's house, screaming for help. Her fingers fumble with her cell phone as she dials 911. When the operator answers, Shannon's voice is trembling, barely audible over the static and her own hyperventilating breath. She says, quote, "There is somebody after me." For 23 agonizing minutes, the line remains open. She speaks in riddles. She asks if the police can trace her location. She sounds like a hunted animal. And then, suddenly, she runs out of the house and into the dense, unforgiving marshland. Shannon Gilbert was never seen alive again. At the time, police believed she had drowned by accident. A tragic end to a chaotic night, but they were wrong. Shannon's disappearance was not an ending. It was a beginning. Because in looking for Shannon, investigators would stumble upon a secret graveyard that had been hidden in plain sight for nearly 2 decades. She thought she was running from a man, but she was running directly into the center of a nightmare. Welcome to the Anomaly Archive. To understand the scale of this horror, you must first understand the landscape. Ocean Parkway is a lonely ribbon of asphalt that cuts through Jones Beach Island. To the south lies the Atlantic Ocean. To the north, the Great South Bay. Between them is a dense thicket of poison ivy, brambles, and scrub oak. It is a place where things are easily lost and rarely found. 7 months have passed since Shannon Gilbert vanished. It is now December 11th, 2010. Suffolk County Police Officer John Malia is conducting a training exercise with his cadaver dog, a German shepherd named Blue. They are fighting through the biting wind and the thorns, looking for any trace of Shannon. Suddenly, Blue stops. The dog signals near a cluster of small trees. Officer Malia pushes through the brush and finds something that looks out of place. It is a burlap sack, rotting, discolored, almost blending perfectly with the winter landscape. Inside are the skeletal remains of a woman. Authorities initially hope this is Shannon, bringing closure to her family. But the medical examiner quickly determines that these remains have been there much longer than 7 months. 2 days later, on December 13th, the police return in force. As they sweep the area, the horror multiplies. 500 feet away from the first body, they find a second. 500 feet further, a third, and then a fourth. 4 women, all petite, all strangled, all wrapped in the same coarse burlap material, and all discarded at equal distances apart, like mile markers on a highway to hell. The media dubbed them the Gilgo Four. Maureen Brainerd Barnes, missing since July 2007. Melissa Barthélemy, missing since July 2009. Megan Waterman, missing since June 2010. And Amber Costello, missing since September 2010. It was clear that a serial killer was operating on Long Island. Someone organized, someone careful, someone who knew that the police would not look hard for women who lived on the margins of society. But this monster made one mistake. He didn't just kill them, He wanted to play with them. Serial killers often keep trophies, jewelry, clothing, locks of hair. But the monster of Gilgo Beach wanted something more visceral. He wanted to relive the power he held over his victims. In July of 2009, shortly after Melissa Barthélemy disappeared, her younger sister, Amanda, began receiving phone calls. They came from Melissa's own cell phone. Imagine the hope, seeing your missing sister's name flash on the caller ID. Amanda answered, desperate to hear Melissa's voice.
She is gone.
Instead, she heard a man.
Just relax.
His voice was calm,
You know where you are.
soft-spoken, almost casual. But his words were designed to destroy. Over a series of calls, this man taunted the teenage girl. He asked if she was a, quote,
a whore.
Whore.
Her?
Like her sister. He described, in graphic detail, what he had done to Melissa.
Her.
He told Amanda that he was watching her, that he was going to kill her, too. These were not just prank calls. They were psychological torture. The killer was using the technology against the family.
Pick up.
He was calling to check Melissa's voicemail,
Why aren't you picking
listening
up?
to the
I need
weeping
you to call me
messages
back.
from her mother and father, drinking in their sorrow. Police were listening. They traced the signals. The calls were pinging off cell towers in Midtown Manhattan, specifically near Penn Station and the Port Authority bus terminal. Also from Massapequa Park on Long Island. This was a crucial clue. It suggested a commuter. Someone who lived on the island but worked in the city. Someone who blended into the rush hour crowd. A face in the sea of millions. But the technology of 2009 was not precise enough. In the chaotic digital noise of New York City, the signal was lost. The calls eventually stopped. The trail went cold. For over 10 years, the families waited. The police administration changed. Corruption scandals rocked the Suffolk County Police Department, distracting from the investigation. The Long Island serial killer became a myth, a ghost story told to warn young women. But the killer was not a ghost. He was a man.
Yeah, it's wild out here.
He was waking up every morning in a dilapidated house in Massapequa Park. He was putting on a suit. He was taking the train into Manhattan. He was an architect, a consultant who helped navigate the complex building codes of New York City. To his neighbors, he was odd, quiet, a bit menacing. But no one suspected that behind the heavy eyes of Rex Heuermann lay the memories of the Burlap sacks. For over a decade, the case was frozen in ice. The initial task force dissolved. The public moved on, and the killer likely believed he had committed the perfect crime. But in January of 2022, everything changed. A new task force was assembled with a simple, yet daunting mission: re-examine every single piece of evidence from scratch. The breakthrough did not come from a new witness or a smoking gun. It came from a detail buried deep in the old case notes. A witness named Dave Schaller, the roommate of victim Amber Costello, had told police about a terrifying encounter shortly before Amber died. He described a man who had come to their house, a giant, 6'4", with dark, empty glasses. Dave called him, quote, ogre-like. But most importantly, Schaller remembered the vehicle. It was a first-generation Chevrolet Aveo launch. In the original investigation, this lead was lost in the noise. But the new task force ran a query through the vehicle registration database for all Chevrolet Avalanches, registered to men living in the Massapequa Park area in 2010. The computer spit out a name. Rex Heuermann. Suddenly, the ghost had a name.
Truck was not enough.
But a truck was not enough to arrest a man for murder. They needed to link him to the victims. Investigators turned to what is known as the digital pattern of life. They subpoenaed billing records for the burner phones used to contact the victims. They also pulled the records for Rex Heuermann's personal cell phone. Then, they overlaid the data on a map. The results were chilling. When the burner phones were turned on to contact the victims in Massapequa Park, Rex's personal phone was also in Massapequa Park. When the burner phones moved into Midtown Manhattan, Rex's personal phone moved into Midtown Manhattan. Thousands of data points aligned perfectly. The killer and the architect were moving in perfect synchronization. They were the same person. Went even deeper. But the evidence went even deeper. The task force discovered that Heuermann used these burner phones to create anonymous email accounts. His search history was a window into a depraved mind. He searched for things like, quote, "Why has the Long Island serial killer not been caught?" Torture porn. And most damning of all, he repeatedly searched for photos of the victims' battered bodies and their families. He was obsessively monitoring the investigation into his own crimes. He was watching the police watch for him, but he didn't know that the eyes of the law were finally looking back. It is January 2023. A team of plainclothes surveillance officers is shadowing a large man walking down Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. To the tourists and office workers, Rex Heuermann looks like just another businessman on his lunch break. He is wearing a worn blazer. He carries a battered messenger bag, whole. But the officers know that this man is a predator. The goal of this operation is specific. Obtain a sample of his DNA without him knowing. If they ask him for it, he will lawyer up, and the element of surprise will be lost. They have to wait for him to discard something. They watch as he stops at a local pizza shop. He buys a slice. He stands on the sidewalk, eating. When he is finished, he tosses the empty cardboard box into a public trash can on the corner. As soon as Heuermann rounds the corner and is out of sight, an investigator swoops in. Wearing gloves, he retrieves the box. Inside lies the leftover crust, a piece of garbage to most, but to the task force, it is the Holy Grail. The crust is rushed to the Suffolk County Crime Lab. Years ago, during the initial recovery of the bodies, forensics teams had found a single male hair. It was found on the burlap sacking that wrapped the body of Megan Waterman. Specifically, it was trapped inside the knot of the rope. This meant it belonged to the killer. For over a decade, the hair was too degraded for standard testing. But technology had evolved. They could now test for mitochondrial DNA. The lab extracts the DNA from the saliva on the pizza crust. They compare it to the hair found on Megan Waterman. The results come back. It is a match. Specifically, the mitochondrial DNA profile excludes 99.96% of the North American population. But it does not exclude Rex Heuermann. But there was more. Female hairs had also been found on the victims. Long, blonde hairs that did not belong to the victims themselves. Investigators retrieved bottles collected from the trash outside Heuermann's house to get a DNA profile of his wife, Asa Eller Up. The female hairs matched his wife. Now, this did not mean she was the killer. Flight records proved she was out of the country or out of state every single time a murder occurred. What it meant was that Rex Heuermann was living a double life. He was killing these women while his family was away, and he was inadvertently carrying his wife's hair on his clothes, transferring it to the victims as he wrapped them in burlap.
Target acquired.
The net had closed.
Massapequa.
It was time to take down the monster. July 13th, 2023. Rex Heuermann leaves his office in Midtown Manhattan. He is likely planning his commute home. Instead, he is swarmed by officers. He is handcuffed. His reign of terror is over. But the true horror was waiting back in Massapequa Park. Investigators descended on his home at First Avenue. Inside, police found a hoarder's paradise. Narrow pathways cut through stacks of boxes, garbage, and old furniture. But in the basement, they found something organized. A locked metal door. Behind it lay a vault. Inside this vault, investigators found an arsenal. Over 270 firearms, pistols, hunting rifles, and assault weapons. Heuermann was an avid hunter, but he wasn't just hunting animals. Then came the digital forensics. On a hard drive seized from the home, technicians recovered a deleted file. It was a Microsoft Word document titled HK 2002-04. This file is perhaps the most disturbing piece of evidence ever found in a serial killer case. It was a checklist, a manifesto of murder. Heuermann had meticulously typed out his process to improve his work. He listed problems from previous kills. Things like DNA risks, time management, and cleanup. He listed supplies, cutting tools, heavy rope, tarps, acetone to destroy DNA. And he listed his objectives. The words are difficult to say, but necessary to understand the monster. He wrote, pack for transport, playtime, remove head and hands. This document proved premeditation beyond a shadow of a doubt. It proved that the Gilgo 4 were not accidents. They were projects. He was refining his method, treating human lives like an architectural problem to be solved. Rex Heuermann has been charged with the murders of Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, Amber Costello, and Maureen Brainerd Barnes. More recently, he has been charged in connection with other remains found along Ocean Parkway. He has pleaded not guilty. He sits in a cell in Riverhead, Long Island, awaiting trial. The architect of death is finally contained within 4 concrete walls. The arrest of Rex Heuermann brings a sense of closure, but it also opens a new chasm of questions. Police are now reviewing cold cases across the entire country. Heuermann owned property in South Carolina. He traveled specifically to Las Vegas. Everywhere this man went, could there be more burlap sacks hidden in the darkness? The Gilgo 4 have been found. But on that lonely stretch of Ocean Parkway, there are still secrets buried in the sand. I want to hear from you.
What we found here changes
Based on the level of planning in his digital notes, do you believe Rex Heuermann operated entirely alone? Or is there someone else who knew about the vault in the basement? Let me know your theories in the comments below. If you want us to investigate the strange disappearance of Maura Murray next, or perhaps dive into the Dyatlov Pass incident, vote now. Until then, stay observant.